Durban is a coastal city in eastern South Africa in the KwaZulu-Natal province. Well, thanks to its subtropical climate and magnificent beaches, it's also become a popular tourist spot and a major business hub. Well, the city is actively working to attract international investors with innovative strategies and a strong sense of pride in the growing municipality. So it's fair to say that the future is looking very bright for Durban. And to discuss what that future might hold, I'm delighted to welcome to the studio Russell Curtis, who's head of Invest Durban, and Katie Friedman, an international investor. So welcome to both of you. And let's look at the main objectives of Durban. What is it that Durban wants to accomplish?
Durban is aiming to raise its profile on the African continent and internationally. Everyone knows about Johannesburg and Cape Town, our great sister cities, but now we feel is the time for Durban to shine. We have fantastic opportunities, whether that's industrial tourism or just residential and lifestyle, and so we are here as part of a concerted effort to make a step change in how Durban is perceived, to inform the international investor community, and to get additional international investors, such as Katie, to partner with our local investors and grow the economy for the benefit of all.
What is it that attracted you to Durban and, more importantly, pushed you into making that step to invest?
Well, our business is urban regeneration and we specialise in commercial property. And we have holdings here in London and we started working in Cape Town in 2006. With urban regeneration, it tends to start on the outskirts of any city and move inwards until you get complete coverage of the city. And we were running out of things to do in Cape Town because it's very constricted. Yes. And we started looking to, in terms of regeneration, which will be the next South African city to come to the fore. And our view is very much that the order will be Cape Town first, Durban second, and Johannesburg, just because of the very disparate nature of the city. And you've got Johannesburg, which is sort of joining up with Pretoria now. That will be the third city to be regenerated.
So that's your next port of call.
Yes, so we started working in Durban in 2014. We started acquiring in Durban in 2014. Yeah.
And Russell, you outlined the big goals that you have for this. So how do you think you can go about achieving them? Because yes, it's great that you've got Katie on board, but that's just part of the story, isn't it?
Yeah. So the City of Durban is putting a lot more resources behind a new strategy that we co-developed with international best practice advisors and our National Treasury to effect a step change in the economic trajectory, in the social trajectory, in the investment trajectory. And so it's very much more a step change which is targeted around key economic sectors, whether that be automotive and allied logistics or property investment and inner city regeneration. And so we are building up sector teams and going after the retention and expansion of our existing investor base. The City of Durban is the second largest industrial concentration in South Africa. We've got the largest port in sub-Saharan Africa. We've got some of the best platinum coastlines across our 2,500 square kilometers of our metropolitan city. 4 million people living, working and playing together. And so our aim is to work in partnership, a much more strategic and focused partnership with business leaders, existing business leaders and new international business leaders, to tell Durban's story and to bring more international partners into our city.
And I'm glad you've used that phrase, telling the story, because it's important to bring in local people, to include them in the growth that's going to come out of this. So how do you plan to achieve that? Apart from employing people, it's got to go beyond that.
Absolutely. It's no secret that South Africa has socio-economic challenges, and we cannot have islands of prosperity surrounded by large masses of poverty. And so each company, each sector, each partner has very much a socio-economic development heart to what they do.
And I think what's interesting about Durban is that we have a fantastic workforce that's very available there. English is very widely spoken and is first language across the whole country. So for people looking to set up things like call centres and things like that, Durban is a very cost-effective option for people to do that.
Because of that, do you feel, Russell, that you're really going to have more international investors coming in? Because I know that that's one of the reasons why you're in London, to say, look, come on, board this train now before you miss the carriage.
Absolutely. You know, we, as part of the step change, we came to the London financial community, business community around this time last year with a delegation of business leaders and project owners, and we had scores of meetings, some great outcomes. We've secured many hundreds of millions of new FDI from European companies that have come in and seen whether it's the tourism opportunities or the industrial opportunities. And so for us, we're back here again right now as waving the flag of that desire for partnership. And that's today's efforts are part of a precursor to, in October, we'll be back again with a significant delegation of business leaders and government leaders to see how we can continue to bridge the, can I call it, centuries-old partnership between Europe and Africa on a very constructive, partnership-oriented basis.
I'm glad you've mentioned October, in fact, because certainly in the UK, it's a very important month, the end of October, because that is the date when we are supposedly leaving the European Union.
I couldn't believe they chose Halloween for the date. I thought, how appropriate.
Trick or treat. But I mean, and I'd love to get the take of both of you, because we don't know whether that deadline will be fulfilled.
Yeah.
But do you think that Brexit could potentially undermine what you're doing? Or do you think, actually, it may be a problem for the Brits, but from our point of view, it's fantastic. We've never looked back.
Yeah, I think certainly from South Africa's point of view, and obviously we received our Prime Minister Theresa May in October last year in Cape Town, where she kicked off her Africa tour, and that was very much about securing investment in both directions. And I think that Brexit actually gives South Africa a huge amount of opportunity.
Durban in particular has a very strong history and connection with the United Kingdom and with Europe in general. And this gives us the opportunity to refresh those relationships, to expand those relationships, to be a bit more intentional and focused about those relationships in an economic, trade and investment sense. And so we've seen it from the UK coming into South Africa, and likewise we're reciprocating from the city of Durban and the nation of South Africa back into the United Kingdom. And it does provide global opportunities for us on those trade and investment spaces.
And Katie, from your point of view, whenever we look at projects like this, diversity is really important. It is the buzzword in the modern day vocabulary. So how is this need for diversity reflected in the teams that you're working with?
Well, Durban has a very unusual population. We have the largest Indian population outside of any city in India. So we have a fantastic range of race and religion. We also have a very educated workforce in Durban, which is also very interesting.
And that makes it easier, I guess, in terms of attracting that investment.
It is, because everyone finds a home. Everyone finds a natural franchise with a friend of a similar cultural language. We say that the colours of the Rainbow Nation, so South Africa known as the Rainbow Nation, we say the colours of the Rainbow Nation, in fact, do burn the brightest from the city of Durban. The Asian culture that you've heard of, we're also the home of the Zulu Nation. We also have one of the largest populations of UK passport holders in South Africa. And we see that diversity as a strength. We see that diversity as an opportunity, because we understand a much greater range of these historical and geographical and cultural links.
When we're talking about the plans for Durban, we're looking at things in terms of a 5-year stretch. We've looked at these things. So if the three of us are back here talking, not necessarily in this studio, it could be somewhere else, it could be in a television studio in Durban, you never know. What sort of a city are we going to be talking about? What are you going to tell me that has changed?
I think that Durban in 5 years' time will just be more modern. And often I come back here to the UK and look at the roads and the infrastructure here, and I think, my goodness, Durban is actually much better than what we see here in the UK. You know, we have lots of brand new shopping centres, 4DX cinemas and things like that, you know, which is normal in Durban, but you don't get those sorts of things here.
So we will continue to maintain our infrastructure at the best rate of any sub-Saharan African city. And why I say that so confidently is because we continue as the metropolitan city to have investment-grade credit ratings. So we have the balance sheet and the positive cash flows best on the African continent to continue to maintain our infrastructure and expand that infrastructure in time with industry. We're focusing right in the center of the city. So in 5 years' time, you'll see through investors and through partnerships with the public sector infrastructure, you'll see that densify. You'll see that grow. You'll see that internationally. So Durban's inner city residential population right now is going to grow 4 times.
4 times.
We want to be, whether it's the London of Africa or the Manhattan of Africa, we will see our inner city working population triple. We will see a much greater diversity of globalized services, whether they be tourism, whether they be contact centers, whether it be financial services. So right from the center of the golden goose of the city of Durban, the core CBD, and then venturing out into the industrial areas, into the residential suburbs, and into some of the commercial retail suburbs, you'll see it expand from the middle and going outwards with a very strong sectoral focus, with the right kinds of business niched into the right kind of areas, and connected with a fantastic transport infrastructure, fiber optic infrastructure. We already have thousands of kilometers of fiber optics laid, and these will be the platforms that we'll continue to leverage off of to transform Durban over the 5 years.
And let's take this concept, because cities are constantly growing and they face all sorts of challenges, notably with demographics. You're coming in at the right time. Do you see Durban not just being a template for the continent of Africa, but internationally? So perhaps cities from around the world actually coming to Durban and saying, well, OK, then we have an issue with traffic management, with supply chain management, etc., etc. You guys are doing it really well. We need to learn from you, or maybe you guys can come to us and show us what to do. Can you see that happening?
I mean, already there's a lot of information sharing, and particularly in the urban regeneration space. We take learnings from cities all over the world. And in fact, our CEO is actually in La Paz in Bolivia at the moment, looking at urban regeneration projects there. So the global urban regeneration space is already, they share a lot of information. We've got a few projects in Durban. In fact, the City of Durban nominated Urban Lime for a UN award in 2017 around urban regeneration as well, to show best practice. And a lot of the projects that we work on, do exactly that. So we're very proud of the work that we're doing in Durban, and we always do it on an open book basis because we want other cities to learn. It's not as if the projects that we do are proprietary to us. It's if you have the will to be able to do it, and luckily Durban has the support of the city as well. We should probably mention the one-stop shop, which is a government-backed investment programme which supports foreign investors if you come into South Africa, and helps you cut red tape and things like that. So you have one person who looks after you and makes sure that you're able to do all the
to navigate
legislative.
The system. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. And they have been incredibly supportive in Durban to us as foreign investors going in, because each province has their own laws and rules and regulations and things like that. So I think already, Durban is putting its best foot forwards, and that will only increase.
And we know our niche, we know our strengths, and so we are wanting to flesh out our space in that niche and play to our strengths. We fully concede that other parts of our nation are seen as the economic capital and the economic centre, which is wonderful. We fully see other cities and other centres as tourism capitals, culture capitals, and that's great. And so we feel Durbans Niche, our strength, is the best combination of a lifestyle of business and pleasure together in one city.
You've obviously put a lot in, both of you, to really push forward your vision. So what does Durban mean to you personally?
Well, I think like many of us, we are global citizens, and so our choice is an informed choice. So I've lived and worked on 2 other continents besides the African continent, and so I know what's out there, and I've made a conscious choice that Durban will continue to be my home. What Durban and the African continent offers, if we talk about the Continental Free Trade Agreement, for example, what it offers for me in a nutshell is we have frontiers of opportunity. frontiers of opportunity that hardly exist in too many other places around the world.
Working in the commercial property space that we work in, that we specialise in, you know, every square centimetre has been worked in this city. And we found that less so in Cape Town, although Cape Town has a lot of investors now. They've attracted a lot of investment, and Cape Town is becoming very congested now. The type of work that we do, we need to work at scale. In Durban, the doors are wide open. And it's a very interesting city to do things like testing concepts and things like that, because your opportunity, your entry costs are much lower to test something there. So we've actually had quite a few international brands that have come and tested concepts there, which is very interesting. And so from going back to what Russell said, opportunity, I say to people that I can stand in one spot in Durban with my eyes closed and my arms outstretched and turn in a circle, and every single thing my fingertips touch is opportunity there. And that's really, if you're a business person, that's an incredibly exciting environment to work in.
That sounds pretty good to me. Russell Curtis and Katie Friedman, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll get to talk to you before the 5-year plan's completed, so that you can actually give us a sense of your progress.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe we'll go with you to Durban.
Please.
We're dropping hints. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful.